danger of the emptying out of what is human that has so frequently paralyzed the modern world. We therefore need to go back to the real metaphysical definition of freedom as that characteristic of our will by which we can choose what is good and which is fully acquired in self-surrender and love. The more one does what is good, the freer one becomes. There is no true freedom except in the service of what is good and just. Our paper's research question is as follows. What are the notions of personal or individual freedom among university students? We now move on to a brief review of the literature. Freedom, in some form or other, is a vital prerequisite for development, as the United Nations Development Program recognizes. Its Human Development Report 1990 declared, human development is incomplete without human freedom. Throughout history, people have been willing to sacrifice their lives to gain national and personal liberty. The Human Development Report 1991 classifies freedom into two clusters. First are the negative freedoms, which imply freedom from something, for arbitrary arrest, for instance, or from unjustified attack on person or property. The second are the positive freedoms, which are the freedom to do something, for example, to attend meetings or organize political parties or trade unions. There have been several efforts to codify freedom, including the comprehensive United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Equally numerous are attempts to measure and test countries against such classifications like the annual surveys of the New York-based Freedom House. Yet few have won universal approval. Not only do definitions and philosophical slants differ, the very attempt is fraught with difficulties. For one thing, it is not easy to decide what exactly is a violation of freedom. Freedom preserves its dignity only as long as it retains the relationship to its ethical foundations and to its ethical task. A freedom that is consisted solely in the possibility of satisfying one's needs would not be human freedom, since it would remain in the animal realm. An individual freedom without substance dissolves into meaninglessness, since the individual's freedom can exist only in an order of freedoms. Based on this notion of freedom, can a person who is imprisoned remain to be free? In what ways? Is he free to engage in vices? When, then, can a businessman or a university student say that he is truly free? The intention in this paper is to survey young people on their notions and definitions of individual freedom, using their family and school milieu as well as their personal convictions as the context. Using the questions drawn from various freedom-related sources, a 33-item freedom scale was developed. The first part were questions related to students' daily tasks in the home and in school, whereas the second part was adapted from the McCann-Erickson Youth Survey. This freedom questionnaire was administered to a convenient sample of 57 students of the University of the Philippines from various year levels and academic programs. On the next slide, we show you some excerpts from part 1 of the questionnaire. Next, we show you selected questions from part 2 of the questionnaire. Please refer to the next slide for the demographic data related to gender and year level. Then, we show you the demographics of the respondents based on their courses or academic programs. For the results, overall, the surveyed respondents manifested the correct notion of freedom in a majority of the daily home and school-related matters as shown on the slide. However, the exceptions to this finding are as shown on the slide, namely, responsible student behavior at home. In addition, results show that on some questions, The older students seem to be more liberal in their notions about freedom. As for part 2 of the questionnaire, involving questions adapted from the McCann-Erickson Youth Survey, the general finding is that in more advanced issues, such as abortion, drugs, etc., majority of respondents had the correct notion that they are not free to engage in such things as abortion, consumption of objectionable material, and the like. There were only 2 exceptions, namely, 1. That a majority agreed that they are free to adhere to contraception, and 2. There is a neutral view toward the use of sexually explicit language. For our conclusions, overall, majority of the university students surveyed had the notion that freedom is doing what I want to do, which we know to be license and not true freedom, which is defined to be that characteristic of our will by which we can choose what is good and which is fully acquired in self-surrender and love. In addition, their moral convictions, that is choice of good behavior, seem to be less strong in the higher year levels. An implication that we have wished to draw from this main finding is as follows. Since the authors now know freedom to be that characteristic of our will by which we can choose what is good, there seems to be the urgent need to form or train the youth in the correct notion of freedom. In future similar research, size of sample of respondents could be increased. Also, interviews with the respondents could be added to draw deeper conclusions from the findings of the survey. Thank you.